Hey, practice owners. Wanted to start off this a new series that we have begun. We're going to call it Coming Back Stronger. And what I've done is really go out in the industry and look at contributors, people who have contributed articles, content, people who are big in the dental industry that you may or may not know. It gives you an opportunity to get to know them a little bit better, and it gives them an opportunity to take what they've done in dentistry and really distill it down and bring it to you. So on here today, I have somebody that if you're on, I don't know, anywhere online, you recognize Grace, Grace Rizza. Grace is with Identity Dental Marketing. And what I've asked Grace to do is really, like everybody else, focus on two things for this sort of coronavirus situation, we'll call it. Number one is, what are some things you can do today, right now, to stabilize your practice? We don't need to be talking about great big things that'll pay off in 5 years today when you need to deal with things today. And then the second thing is, what are some things you can be doing to lay a foundation for strategy when you get back, you're up and going, and, rather than just poke your head out, when the coast is clear and start seeing patients again, what are some things you can do to lay some groundwork for a longer strategic plan, which right now I know that's hard to see, but I promise you, really good companies know how to sort of, clean out some dust, blow out some cobwebs, and build some things while they have the time right now to help when they come back. So with that, I'm going to introduce Grace. Grace, how you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
You have, you have Identity Dental Marketing. You have, so what are your groups? I know you have Marketing with Grace.
I have, Dental Marketing with Grace,
Dental Marketing with Grace
is my main Facebook group. And then I just launched the Dental Positivity group on Facebook. That was really a substitute for therapy for myself.
Right. It's amazing if you haven't been in it. And so what do you have? You have like no coronavirus discussion.
No COVID talk allowed unless you're sharing a meme that's going to make people laugh.
Okay.
There's no serious talk allowed in that group.
Good.
So it's just been a little healthy escape. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And, you and I have talked before about practice owners. We're not dentists, didn't go to dental school, so we kind of don't have that mindset. So we can see through things a little bit differently than maybe a dentist who, they went to dental school. They want to see patients right now. All of this is confusing and overwhelming to them. So what I'd like to do is kind of dive right in, and you tell them a little bit about you, a little bit about your business, Identity Dental Marketing, and then maybe some things they can be doing right now today, hit the ground running, that stabilizes their business while they have the time. And then we'll kind of move into the second part after that. Is that cool?
Okay, great. So right. For those of you who maybe don't know me or haven't really heard me speak or lecture, I am a brand obsessed, marketing obsessed dental nerd. I've worked in dentistry, representing dentists and fulfilling their marketing needs since 2008. Before starting Identity Dental Marketing, I actually worked in a practice during the recession as a marketing director for 2 locations, and really learned the ins and outs hands-on from the inside out. So I have a little bit of a different perspective. I definitely know my tooth numbers and things, but I've never been clinical. I'm too grossed out too easily to ever have gone down that path, but have just completely fallen in love with getting people to appreciate dentistry and getting people to value quality care. That's really been my mission in the past decade or so.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Awesome. So number one, you lived through the recession. Mm-hmm. And so when you say, we'll get through this, there comes a little bit of experience with that. We will get through it. What are some things some practice owners, again, dentists who have, not to diminish their abilities, but to diminish their desire. Again, they want to see patients, not market. What are some things they can do, like tomorrow when they get into the practice, this afternoon, that are real tactical to help, stabilize things and then lay some groundwork?
So spend a little bit of time evaluating. spend a little bit of time looking at your website, looking at what is the message that we're putting out. Is our business name and logo and website, and is our brand really reflective of who we are today? A lot of people haven't had the time to do that, and they've wanted to for a very long time. And now we have this time and we don't even know what to do with it. And so you can actually look and think about, what are people going to be expecting from me when I open back up? Because public perception has changed. I don't think we're going to see the same culture that we've seen going into this. I think it's a big enough change for us that we're going to see people way more cautious. You're going to have what we would call before germophobic is going to be the new normal. So people are going to be expecting communication about infection control. They're going to be expecting a pristine office. So you've got that clutter. You haven't gone paperless before. You haven't had the time to do these things, and now you have all this time. So think about how people are going to be perceiving you and what they're going to be looking for, and create it before it's even in demand. So before people are asking you these questions on the phone, you're hearing it from us that they're going to start looking for those things. So.
Okay, so when you say brand, I get that and you get that. Dentists, practice owners, I think sometimes that's a struggle with them. You agree with that? I mean, you see that? They shake their head and they say, "Oh yeah, my brand," and they have no idea what that really means. You know, it's
Absolutely.
a logo. In fact, let me take that back. They think it's their logo.
That's
so
right.
You say identify your brand, and they say, "Oh man, I don't want to freshen my logo right now.
I don't want to change my logo." That's what they think immediately.
So can you kind of cover in a nutshell, what is brand?
Your brand is your reputation. And the cool thing about your brand is you can actually shape your reputation or your brand through the marketing that represents you. So through your logo, through your website, through your social presence, through video, you can create the reputation that you desire to have in your community. And so if you haven't really thoughtfully crafted your brand, you still have a brand. It may not be in alignment with who you truly are today. And for anyone sitting back going, "Well, I think my brand hasn't really changed," this experience has changed every dental brand. Yeah. It should have changed every dental brand. Mm-hmm. So because there's the demand will change. So
I saw, I did a thing. In fact, I had a call this weekend, which made me think about it. And I didn't know this, but, and here's a little perspective or paradigm. I had a dentist reach out to me. She sent me an email and she asked, "What are some of the permanent changes you think are going to happen in dentistry?" And I said, "I don't know. What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, my dad graduated in 1979. And he said, and he said, apparently they were talking over the weekend. She said, he told her that when he graduated from dental school, nobody wore gloves. And he said he fought it for a long time in the mid 80s. And along came HIV and AIDS, and nobody knew where it was coming from, what it was doing, how it got passed. Nobody knew. So suddenly the ADA comes out and says, well, it might be a good idea to wear gloves. And he said he fought it. He said, imagine going from seating a crown, holding that teeny little thing with your fingers, and then wearing gloves. And so part of that is sort of a brand. I mean, I would think that, late 80s, even today, can you imagine going to a dentist who doesn't use gloves? That's part of your brand. And believe it or not, they're out there. I don't know how, but they're still out there.
And everything you do is either going to add to your brand or take away from your brand.
Okay.
So for instance, once you've defined who you are, so you may be defined as high tech and advanced. You don't want anything out there representing you that doesn't look modern, that doesn't look advanced or high tech. So you've got to think, what is this old website? What is this old logo? What is this even old furniture? How does this adding to my brand or taking away from it? And what a lot of people just don't even do is take the time to define their brand. They don't even take or think it's that important to define how people should think or feel when they encounter your business. And it's a big question. It's a little question, but it's a big question. It's like choosing a personality for your business. And you need to make sure that you can be true to that. You don't want to just go, you don't want to do away with who you are, your core, and pick whatever's in demand. Because if you can't fulfill that, you're going to have a lot of difficult patient interactions because they're going to be expecting something that you can't deliver on. So that's the first thing I would do is go back to your core values, reevaluate your brand, and make sure everything's in alignment. The next thing I would do is stay in touch with your patients right now.
Okay.
Stay connected to your patients right now. Just like in dentistry, we need leadership. We want someone to kind of guide us through what loan should we be applying for, what should we be doing right now. Your community is looking for guidance too. And so if you can be that person that either goes live on social media, because right now everybody's just living on social media. Mm-hmm. So you can go live on social media, or if you can put out a fun community Facebook group or something that's going to keep people connected, or even just picking up the phone and having those one-on-one conversations with people, checking in. How are you doing? We don't know when we're going to be open, but we sure miss you. Is there anything we can do for you? Are you staying healthy? Just checking in with people. You've got to get to a place where you're emotionally and mentally strong before you can do that. So, because this whole thing has been quite a roller coaster.
Yeah. And it is, we talked beforehand. There is a sense of, just dread and terrifying and don't know what to do. And so part of, maybe this is a good time to just say that's normal. Even if you were, even if you've started and even if you've opened and closed businesses and started businesses and they failed, or you're in your 10th most successful business, whatever, I'm telling you that this kind of stuff scares you to death. So I have, I've implemented my window of, I don't know, call it CNN or Fox News or whatever time. And outside of that, I just, if the world could collapse and I won't know it, just because I have got to stay out of that. Is that good advice, you think, to keep your head in the practice?
I think it's great advice. I think we've got to limit our exposure to a point. I also, for the first time ever, am watching news to some extent so that I can try to pick up on cues as to what's coming. And I think that's why we're all so glued a little bit, but definitely limiting it to moments, and giving yourself things to accomplish each day, like we're talking about, giving yourself things to work on that are going to strengthen your business now and when you open back up.
Right.
So, yeah, staying in touch with people, checking in, strengthen those relationships. One of the things I see happening after all of this, I think there was some premature advice. I don't want to say bad advice, but I think there was a lot of premature advice in the dental space in relation to what do we do with our team? Because we shut down before any information came out about financial relief. And so a lot of people just immediately laid off the whole team until we don't know when. And those difficult conversations happened in the middle of emotional crisis for a lot of people. And so what I think is going to be the unfortunate result of that is I think there's going to be what I'm calling a shuffle of employees, a shuffle of patients, a shuffle of business. And of course, you're going to have those people who are just very loyal to you, but there's going to be a big percentage of the population that they think differently now. Right. This thing changed everybody's life. We think differently now. Does my dentist really care about me? Does my whatever marketing company really care about me? Who was there for me when I was in that crisis? And the hard part is we're all in a crisis. So how quickly can you be strong to be there for other people? And that is going to determine how the shuffle settles in your favor.
Do you think there's a, so I have 5 kids and I love them all, but they're knuckleheads. And my 23-year-old was over last night and he said, oh, everything's going to be different after this. He said, when you go to the grocery, you're probably going to be wiping down the handle on the grocery cart. And my wife said, well, we do that we do that now anyway. Now, number one, he's 23. When he goes to the grocery, he buys 3 things and, has dinner. but it never occurred to him before. I mean, he's been in and out of those doors 1,000 times, never noticed there are the carts and then there's the sanitizer.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that's going to look like in a dental office? And is that, as it relates to marketing, how can you start to communicate that and do that now and let your patients know that that's important to you? Because, as you said, it's going to be important to them.
I've had a lot of people communicate with me. So as the owner of a marketing agency, we're dealing with a lot of communication right now, notices for being closed, things like that. We're starting to see a little shift in messaging towards infection control and standards and things like that. Everyone wants kind of the same message to be, we've always done the right thing and kept you safe here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to contest that. And I'm going to say, see how you can elevate that message, because they don't want to know that you're doing things the same way you were before. They want to know that you followed the guidelines before and that you've even made them even stronger after. And a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that. That's okay. You want to come out appearing in every possible way as clean, sterile, careful. So if that's an air filtration system that gives you a cleaner office, if that's higher speed suction or whatever it is, if it's really just taking the time to articulate all of your infection control measures and putting that on your website and having that stand out on the homepage, linking to that information, the people who are going to come out of this, most of the people are going to have a much higher, they're going to want more. Mm-hmm. So wherever that bar was set, they're going to want more. So that's just, I think it's naive to say we've always done everything, because we're in a different world.
Right. I think you're spot on. I agree wholeheartedly that you kind of hit that nail on the head. And that's what I guess that's what I mean by, docs who are sitting home right now, cutting the grass, washing the dog and catching up on Game of Thrones or whatever. When you poke your head out, it is a different world. So, if you're not positioned,
I see two types of people, and I don't see a whole lot in the middle. I see the people who go, it's go time. What are we going to do? Let's take as much action as we can. And it's almost overwhelming to be one of those people. And then I see we need a break. Let's take this break and we'll deal with it later. And I think we need to intentionally make time for family and recovery and health, and a break that we may never get again in our careers. Uh-huh. Like, I think that's important, but I also think it's important to dedicate a good amount of time on growth. And what are all the things we could have done in the past, but we didn't have the time for?
Yeah.
So
you still have a business. I mean, at the end of the day, you're the business owner. It's still yours. You still have it. So as far as communicating with patients, how is that email? Is that, is email, is there too much? Is there too little? Is that phone calls? What do you think that is? What do you see?
So I was just expecting email to die soon. I was just waiting for email to kick the bucket. Uh-huh. And then this happened. And all my predictions went away, because everyone's emailing everything right now. And people are reading it. People are opening it. Okay. So I guess email. And if you can email a video, I think that's even better than emailing words, just words.
Is it a good time to, everybody sort of has and maybe you can speak to this, Facebook, Instagram, you're everywhere. So I think you have this figured out. So if I'm a practice owner in, wherever, Southern Illinois, and I have a Facebook page, we post something every month or two just to let them know we're alive. What's something they could do there? Do you see that as a way to communicate with patients?
Absolutely. Start going live. Live videos right now get so much exposure. Okay. Still, they get a ton of exposure. And if you put a little bit of money behind your posts as well, you can get great exposure. And everyone right now is pulling back on marketing. So you can get more exposure for much less, because it's all competition based. Mm-hmm. And you can get your message seen because everyone's out of work right now. Everybody's sheltered and they're in their homes, and they're online. So it's a great time to educate your community, to introduce yourself, to offer support if anyone is in need, to, just have a consistent presence. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it should get done.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. So, what else you think? Anything else that, like, today, if I come into the office every day, and like we were talking, I'm the only guy here. I could take all this home, but I need someplace to go. My wife works for Humana. Even at sort of an executive level, they're agile, they call it. So she works from a plane if it has internet, a hotel if it has internet, a home if it has internet. She's used to it. I've got to get up and go to the office, and I think a lot of practice owners do that too. It's Monday. I should be in. I should go to the office, which is okay if you're the only one there. Anything else they can do while they're there, just, other than putter around and, break things? Anything they can do?
They can organize the office. They
Okay.
can create a list of priorities that they'd like to work through with their team.
Okay.
And they can actually rehire their team. And a lot of the loans that are available out there, there's going to be some forgiveness that goes towards, they're saying there's going to be forgiveness if it's spent in salaries and things like that.
Yes.
So if you can bring people back on and give them things to work through, like going paperless or, so many things. Working on their marketing, obviously, is where my head's always at. Organizing the office, decluttering, cleaning, thinking about, okay, what PPE is going to be expected after this?
Okay.
How is this going to change? And like I said, I gave the example earlier of air filtration and having cleaner air. Just anything that's going to help the patients feel safe and secure is huge. And
that might be a good research project, so to speak. I mean, if you have an internet connection and you think, yeah, I know dental aerosols are sort of a big thing. I think dentistry is going to hear the words dental aerosols about a cajillion times in the next 6 months. And, who knows, that high-speed handpiece, it is flinging off all kinds of stuff that nobody ever thought about that is now, who knows, it's carrying a virus. Patients are going to think about that. So, maybe that's a good time to just to do a little research on that kind of thing. But in that mindset, like you said, that I then turn around and tell my patients, listen, I'm excited to tell you, this is what we're doing in reaction to that. Is that kind of how you see that?
This is what we can do to really enhance the safety here, even more so than meeting the standards. We're now exceeding the standards with XYZ. So you can definitely find words around that. Another thing really quick that you can do,
okay,
because so many people are on social media, you can also have a community group that you build right now, and you can build it around, your town coming together to get through this, or something very positive, and get people just connected, keep them connected, because after this subsides and our new normal takes hold, you can repurpose that group and that influence and establish yourself as a thought leader. And in what would have taken several months to build, with a lot of time, you can build a lot quicker right now. So,
do you think that the idea of, and I'm asking this kind of from experience, the idea of speaking to patients as a dentist / practice owner is hard for a lot of dentists? I mean, they're good chairside, they do their thing and they sit down, but speaking, you have any advice on them? I see you smile. So, and I've gone through this before. And
well, I'm laughing because I just met with a doctor and I asked him, I said, how are you on camera? And he was like, well, I think I'm an okay looking guy. And I started laughing and I'm like, I need a new way to ask that question.
Right.
I need a new way to tee that up. How comfortable are you talking on camera? And he's like, I think I'm going to do great with that. So I think you get people all over the board. Some people are really comfortable with it. The people that are new into ownership or doing startups, they know they have to be aggressive and do something that the established doctors aren't willing to do. So they're more willing to put themselves out there. And it gives them a huge advantage. I would say just do it. Like to steal from Nike. I would say just do it, because your early videos are probably going to be horrible, but who cares? Like, they'll get better and better, and the longer you do it, the better they'll get. So it's really hard for doctors to turn off that perfectionist complex. And, you know, it's a profession where we're working in millimeters. We're very detail oriented and very critical on our work. When it comes to connecting with people, talk as if you're talking to one person. And so you don't want to say, you, all of you people in the community. You want to talk as if you're talking to one person. And then you want to say the things that you say on a regular basis so that it just comes off very natural to you. So when you get started, think about those frequently asked questions from patients and just answer those how you normally would one-on-one with a patient in the chair, and you'll have no problem with it.
That's a good, so don't you know, overthink it. And let it just, you do it every day anyway. Just
you do it every day anyway. How, if someone asks you a question like, is this going to hurt? What if it hurts? How do you answer that? And every dentist kind of has their own analogies and things that they come up with to communicate with patients. That's the kind of verbiage, that's where you want to get your headspace. And then it gets just very comfortable.
Okay. Yeah, that is awesome advice. And, yeah, you know, from somebody who's done this, yes, your early ones look awful and you think, oh my gosh, I needed a haircut. And I do need a haircut, you know,
you and everyone else.
Oh my gosh. What is it? My sister-in-law has a salon, and she said in about, she had this meme, says in about 3 weeks, we're going to know what everybody's real hair color really is. So there you go. So strategically, you know, this is tactically things I can do today. Nuts and bolts, come in, really look hard at my practice, you know, maybe stand in the reception area and say, wow, you know, this stuff really looked good back in the, you know, 1989 when I got it and I got out of dental school. And I'm talking about, like you said, your brand. I'm a high-tech office, and I'm, you know, they don't know that means a piece of equipment in the back, but when you walk in and you're sitting on kind of, you know, grandma's couch, and, you know, they never get to the back to know this fancy piece of equipment. So you get that brand started working. What are some strategic long-term, and, you know, long-term is kind of relative right now, Grace. Long-term can be 6 months, long-term can be 10 years, you know, to retirement. But what are some foundational things you can do that, you know, are going to, you know, seeds you can sow for, say, 2021, once the smoke sort of clears on all this?
I would say no matter what your situation is, whether you're starting up from scratch right now and you just feel so set back, or you're very, very established with a ton of overhead and you're thinking, oh my gosh, how are we going to get through this financially? Wherever your head is at, wherever your practice is at, I would say just remember, whatever you put in comes back to you. It may not be immediate, but the effort and energy that you put into your business will come back. So now is a good time to be putting in the energy that you typically can't get when you're full-time clinician.
Okay.
So take that step back, do that look in, do an evaluation, and I'm happy to help with any evaluation planning, facilitating thoughts and things like that. But do that evaluation, and then you're probably going to have a list that's longer than what you care to admit, of things that you wish you could have done sooner but never had the time. What I did was then I created teams within my employees, and I put different people on different tasks. So I got the overwhelming information out, and then I organized it into initiatives, and then I delegated it. And then I'm back in CEO role of making sure things are moving, because a lot of business owners have a hard time delegating and overseeing. And even in a situation like this, we feel like we're in it alone. The more you involve your team and you stay connected with your team, the easier it's going to be to come back together when things subside.
Long term, do you think, so back to maybe dovetail the social media component of it. If you've always wanted to do that, or you've watched, you know, one of the things that I always say is, I can promise you, if you're not doing it, you know, just go online and Google, you know, if you're in Des Moines, Google best dentist in Des Moines, and you're going to see a lot of DSOs pop up, because number one, they're spending the money to be there. But number two, they're doing it every day. And a lot of that you can shortcut, and that's way out of my depth. This is, or my pay grade, this is your area. But, if you've got a local doc who is posting a lot of, neat videos, an orthodontist are big with, look who got their braces off today. That helps you when somebody's looking for a new doc, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Free, I guess
your marketing strategy shouldn't just halt. I think that's one of the biggest business mistakes I'm seeing right now is everyone is in a financial panic. So they're pulling back on things that, we've got clients in top 3 for years, and then they just pull their SEO budget, pull everything. And we're going, you might sit there for a little while. You might sit up top for a little while, but someone's going to come and outrank you. And it's going to be much harder to get back to where we were and catch that momentum. So it depends on your situation. I don't like to give general blanket recommendations, but completely pulling all of your marketing is going to slow down your ability to ramp back up.
You're kind of making a long-term strategic decision for a short-term situation.
Exactly.
And momentum. That's one of the great things about marketing is it's momentum, and it grows over time, and it builds that momentum up. You pull it right now. And I think the other thing is, this is a little outside of marketing, but call your vendors and just say, listen, you don't have to explain the situation to them. What do they say? You don't
trust
have to
us. We know.
Right. You don't have to say, you don't have to tell a bald man he's losing his hair. He already knows. So you don't have to call and say, listen, times are tough. We're struggling. They know. But I think if the message might be, and you tell me if you've seen this, the message is, we want to come back. Now, we're hoping it's, 6 weeks. Hope, 8, would be tough. 2 would be awesome. But when we are back, you're my best friend. I'm loyal to you. You stick with me. Right now, money is tight and I need to take care of my team. I don't think I've heard anybody who's done that get a, no, pay me now. I'm going to send you to collections. Have you seen that?
I'm not sure how other people are handling that financial conversation. We were in a very vulnerable state because we have no contracts with anyone. So we're a month-to-month organization. And so it put us in a very vulnerable state, but I could seriously cry thinking about the people who called me and said, oh no, we want to make sure you get paid. We're going to need you after this. And I literally have a list of people that I'm like, I am going so far above and beyond when things go back. And even now I'm working so hard to show those people my gratitude for their kindness. I literally had a doctor who's starting up, not even really going to be using or needing the marketing until July, drop off a check to my home so that I could keep my team. I want to keep your team employed. Yeah. I want to keep you working. I want to keep the economy going. So as much as we've had those difficult calls of pullback, we've also had these amazing, surprising conversations of people going, no, we are going to come back from this and we're going to do it together. And that has just fueled me to give as much as I can at this time.
I think that really, and that is the thought, that's perfect. That's the thought behind coming back stronger is, what I wanted to communicate with with the people that we talk to, like you, is just that message right there. While it's terrifying, that you're going to be back one day. Doesn't mean you're oblivious to it or in denial. It just means you're doing what you can do today. And, once you're in business long enough, I always say you take care of the people who take care of you and vice versa. Absolutely. So if I can take care of some people, I take care of who I can. And the interesting thing is, we have a lot of vendors that aren't that big. I mean, they clean the office and they do that kind of thing. They can come in here and clean the office while we're not here because they're the ones hit hardest. And so I think you're spot on. I think in the marketing part of it, yeah, it's going to come back. And do you want to keep that momentum or do you want to fight to?
And we'll be here for everyone. I mean, we'll be here for the people who panicked and shut everything down. We'll be here for them too. It's just going to take a little bit more financially and time wise to regain that momentum. So it's definitely a difficult time, but Steve, I really appreciate this.
Yeah,
I appreciate the opportunity.
well, you know, and I appreciate you taking me up on the offer. I get, like you, call after call after call, and I've had some desperate calls. I mean, I've had some calls that I'm very worried about and stay in touch with the doc that just are, you know, heart-wrenching. And so, and you want to give them a little bit of hope. And there is plenty of hope. I mean, it's a business. It's your, you know, it's kind of your baby. I know you and I have talked before. This is your thing. And, you know, there are times you wake up every day and some days you do stuff right. Some days you don't. And you say, oh, God, I'm never going to do that again. And that's part of the process. But I think in this instance, just understanding it's your business, it's provided an income, put your kids through college, it's going to provide a retirement. You have to nurture it and take care of it. But if your mindset is, you know, let's gut it out for 4 or 5, 6 weeks and see what happens, your team, to some degree, I mean, there's your brand right there. Your team scatters. So the docs who have that brand that, okay, we're going to figure it out, come back stronger, your team also is part of that. Do you think?
And I do, and it's not too late. I guess that's my message. And I don't know how soon you're going to get this video out, but it's not too late to call your team, to talk with them about the emotions that you experienced through this situation, why you did what you did. And if you were wrong for how you handled it, or if you would handle it differently today, you can tell them that. I think there's vulnerability and honesty goes a long way in leadership, and people will respect it. And so if you feel like after listening to this, maybe you would have or should have done things differently, it's definitely not too late.
Well, Grace, I think that is a good place to put a bow on it.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. I know you've been super, super, super busy. And one of the things that I do really appreciate about what you do is you kind of put your money where your mouth is. I know we've interacted, you know, over the years. And literally, I think if anybody calls, you treat everybody the same, whether, you know, they're a client or not a client. And, you know, I think you just sort of feel like things, you know, it's going to shake out one way or the other, but you treat everybody the same. So I appreciate you offering that up.
Thank you.
With that, we're going to draw this to a close. Grace Rizza, Identity Dental Marketing. And we're calling this series Coming Back Stronger. And, you know, it's sort of a short-term answer to a short-term situation. But there are a lot of things you can do today, and there are a lot of things you can lay a foundation strategically for. So any practice owner listening, Grace, how would they get a hold of you?
They can send me an email, grace@identitydental.com.
Okay, awesome. So we'll wrap it up with that. And until next time, kind of hang in there. And if you have any questions for me, The Profitable Dentist, Steve at theprofitabledentist.com, Grace at identitydental.com. And hang in there, guys.
Thank you.